Chris Galza here with
Mateo.
And in this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss Blair Witch, but not just Blair Witch. We're going to discuss the Blair Witch Project. Matt and I decided to go back in time and revisit one of the seminal horror films of the 90s. Is that a fair assessment? I think that's a fair assessment.
That's a very fair assessment.
And then we're going to tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. That's September 27th. And then, Matt, it's going to be the return of Who Dat, everybody's favorite role-playing game. So let's get going here, Matt. Let's hear a clip from Blair Witch.
What is that?
The guy who uploaded this video said it was from a tape he found in the Black Hills woods. I think that might be my sister.
You really think your sister could still be out there after all these years?
If there is any chance that I could find out what happened to her, I need to try.
Legend said there's been a curse on these woods.
Do you believe in the stories about the Blair Witch? Oh my God. This looks familiar.
We've been walking in a circle.
No way.
They're everywhere. Who could have done this?
You did this?
Oh my God. This way, come on.
There's something out there.
So, Matt, this whole thing started, right? So back in 1999. Well, let's save the Blair Witch Project discussion for the Blair Witch Project. Let's discuss then just Blair Witch. So there was a film being shot by Adam Wingard, right? Called, what was it called? Into the Woods? Or In the Woods?
Just the Woods, yeah.
The Woods. All right. And it was supposed to be the next horror film. Now, if you're not familiar with Wingard's work, he did The Guest. He did You're Next, a great little horror film as well. A Horrible Way to Die, I think, was his big first film. So I'm a fan of Wingard's work so far. I'm always interested to see what he's part of the new auteurs when it comes to horror. Him, like Ty West. I think I'd have to now throw in Fede Alvarez, who did Evil Dead and Don't Breathe. So and then it was at Comic-Con this year in San Diego, and they had the big reveal.
Yep.
That The Woods is actually a Blair Witch sequel. Kind of honing back to the viral way that the original Blair Witch Project went out. But that was more because of how it was framed and what it was reported to be. So, Matt, there's a lot of excitement, at least on this end, I got to tell you, because I really liked the Blair Witch Project when I saw it all those many years ago. So I was really looking forward to this. Where do you come down, though? Were you as excited as I was, and what were the end results? Should we have left everything kind of alone, or are you excited for the next chapter of the Blair Witch saga?
I really liked how they did it. I thought it was very clever that they kept it, and they managed to keep it secret for so long that they've been making this movie for however many years it takes to make a film. It was called The Woods. That's what all the marketing was. That's what all the posters were. And then come out, oh, by the way, this is Blair Witch. So I thought I got a real kick out of them just being able to pull that off. I thought that was very impressive of them to do, and I liked the way that they did it because, obviously, the buzz on The Woods was, it was a good horror movie and all this kind of stuff. It was really scary. And I think, that kind of gave me hope that this would be pretty good just by the fact of, before everybody knew it was Blair Witch Project. I think if anybody had known that going into it, there would have been a lot of people crapping on it for a long time. Whereas,
you think so? That's why I'm wondering about that. Do you think people would have been apprehensive from the get-go, like, oh, seriously, are we getting a Blair Witch sequel or prequel or remake? Or you think that would have been the backlash? That would have been the response?
Yeah, I would think. I mean, I think there would have been a vocal contingent. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are people on the internet. There is a very large contingent that kind of are complaining and like to whine about things. I think there would have been a vocal contingent of people saying, oh, we don't need this. Oh, it's shaky cam. Oh, it's Vertigo, the movie or whatever. But, I guess, just by the fact that it was supposed to be this brand new thing, nobody, everybody had to kind of reserve judgments. You kind of didn't get that. You just kind of got this, wow, I kind of wonder what this is about, whether I think it's going to be good or bad, which I think helped overall.
See, I don't know, because it's not like a property like Ghostbusters, right? That had all that heat against it from the get-go. And I don't want to talk about the whole Idris Elba, Black James Bond backlash crap. Mm-hmm. But I just don't, because I'm not 100% on that, because of I would think the universally positive reaction to the reveal, the fact that this was a Blair Witch film. So that's why I would question that interpretation, that there would be a bunch of hate from the get-go. I think that people may have more reacted like, seriously, this is what we're going to get. We're not going to get The Woods. We're going to get a Blair Witch movie. But I thought the response was universally pretty excited about it. But maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so give me your thoughts on the end product. What did you think?
I liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. It doesn't have a very good Rotten Tomatoes score, either critic or audience score. I think critics is like in the 30s. If you want to say audience is in the 40s.
36, 39.
Okay. As much of a phenomenon as the original Blair Witch Project was, it was still a pretty divisive movie. I think a lot of people thought it was overhyped, thought it was, didn't like the found footage, didn't like the, first person perspective, didn't like, what the limitations of their budget. So I guess, I think you're always going to have that contingent of people who don't like this kind of stuff. But, I enjoyed it. I mean, did I think it was a groundbreaking horror film? No. But it was fun to watch. I was entertained. There were plenty of scenes in it where I was, where it was suspenseful, or it was, waiting to see what happened next. I mean, granted, there's, I've heard the criticism, there's a lot of jump scares in this, but which I guess is true. But, I still think overall, I had a good time watching it, and and it's a competent horror film, and that's a lot of times that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, the cinema score released too as well as a D+. And
that surprises me. I didn't think it was that bad.
I'm conflicted, because I don't think it's not a D+. It's not a 36% film. Is it a B? I don't think so. I really struggle with this film. Part of me is, as I'm watching this, Matt, is I'm wondering, is this just a case of the get off my lawns, which is how I refer to it, as me getting old? Right, that there are shifts in my perspective that I don't appreciate as much, things I don't get as much anymore. And for me, it was the shaky cam stuff. I was just, for the first half hour of this film, I was like begging it, just stand still for 2 minutes, just give me 2 minutes, And with the first film, it didn't really bother me at all. And I don't know if maybe I think this version of the film was much more frantic and chaotic than the original film. I felt like there was much more instability in the shooting of this film than there was in the original. So and for me, the big issue I have with it, Matt, is the missed opportunities. I feel like Wingard presents so many different things here to us and never really chases any of them down. We have the issue with the pulsing wound in the woman's foot. And we get kind of a reveal later on in her leg with something, but even then, I'm not sure what the hell it was. I couldn't tell. I don't know if maybe it was a little creature, I think, but I don't know. I couldn't tell. There's just a little dusting of a romance between our two, I don't know if you want to call them leads, between James and Lisa, right? Which then we abandon that entirely, which I don't struggle as much with that, because I think maybe that's part of the horror. Is that we have two people that may kind of like each other, and then just things go horribly wrong. But there is no real revisit to that in any form whatsoever. Now, I don't want them to go like, James, I love you. Lisa, I love you. I'm not looking for that. But maybe just some kind of thing, like a touch or some other kind, just something to give me something else as part of that relationship that you clearly meant to establish, but then did nothing with. What else was a big issue I had with it? Oh, yeah. The video footage on the camera attached to the tree. Wingard goes out of his way to make a point that there's a camera that's attached to a tree, right? Because we have the issue where the stick figure things show up. So we're going to see how those things got there. So we put this camera up, and we never look at it again. It's never brought up again. And give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I think from what I remember from watching, so I just watched the film yesterday. So I think he sets up the camera, He sets up, you know, his Deus Ex Machina, says, "Hey, I hope this thing doesn't run out of batteries." They come out, they see all the stick figures everywhere. Then he says, "Oh, the thing ran out of batteries, right?" So I guess you could pull whatever the card, or I don't know how it works or whatever. But then right after that happens, that's when the two people who disappeared come wandering back in. That's when that's when all that stuff happens. So I think it's basically, you know, that's when all the S starts to go down, so that they never really had time to go look at the camera again.
And I think, you know what, then that may be a failure on my part to get. You're entirely right, because one of the things that I liked about this film is Wingard's expansion of the myths. Right. Where he really fills in some of the blanks from the original film for us. One is the witch's ability to control time. And I think then if I look at it, that camera and that view and that spectrum, then I can let that slide, because the point of that is to show that the witches mess with time, and the batteries have died because she's screwing with that, right? Because those two people come back, and it's been what, days for them?
Yeah, they've been gone for, like I said, they said like 5 or 6 days, but to everybody else, they've only been gone for a few hours. Right.
So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that the stick figure things themselves have a more expanded impact. I don't want to say more than that, but then they do it in the original film as well, which I thought was really, really good, and probably one of the most effective things in this whole film for me was that. That was one of those holy crap moments.
Yeah.
I do think it had entirely too many jump scares. Lazy jump scares. We're talking about the ones where people just come out of nowhere.
Right.
After he sets the tone by dropping the music and having nothing but silence. That bothers me. There's too much of that. But for me,
that might be a get off my lawn.
Okay. So, but I think the greatest success of this film for me is the last 10 minutes when they get to the house again. I don't want to use terrified, but I can feel it right now. I'm getting goosebumps, and the hairs on my arms are standing up again just thinking about it. Yeah. So that is exceptionally effective when we get back to the house again. How do you feel about the reveal of the Blair Witch? Because a lot of people were upset that they actually potentially maybe showed the Blair Witch this time.
You know, I was fine with it. I actually liked the fact that, you know, obviously the original film had no budget, so you never saw her, and they just kind of, you know, people reacting to her, yelling what that is. And I do like he doesn't do it in such a way where she's always kind of in the distance, and it's always kind of a little out of focus, and they're so quick, and they were just creepy enough. It was like watching some, like, you know, to me it was like watching what it was supposed to be, like some kind of, you know, creepy YouTube video you find on, you know, creepypasta somewhere, you know, where somebody's come up with something. That's what it kind of like. It left you just enough to where it was like, oh, that was kind of creepy, but it didn't give you so much to where that's dumb and that looks fake.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he handled that exceptionally well. And for me, that was the most terrifying stuff, is when she would just kind of show up. And I think it was interesting how they did it at the end too. Like the girl figures out how she could possibly get out alive. Possibly. Would you like the juxtaposition of the attic to the cellar?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, it was fine. I do like that we did go down into the cellar at some point. There was a little bit more to it than that. But yeah, I mean, when she went down into the cellar, I started like, oh my god, she's going into the cellar. Yeah, I mean, that house, let's just say that house is enormous. I don't know. There's like 1,000 rooms in that house. I don't know if that's part of the Blair Witch's thing.
I think it is. I think that's all part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I also did like, you know, how Wingard, you know, he ties the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, and he just kind of, they don't explain it at all. I mean, they leave you to catch it, but I did appreciate that. Like, as you're watching it, you can kind of tie the whole thing back together in one big loop.
Maybe I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, okay, spoiler alert, guys. But so we established that the witch can control time. The video that they found that made her go there was Lisa's video when she picked up Lane's camera when she's running up the stairs. She's the one that they saw in the actual mirror or whatever.
Right. You know what? I didn't even put that together until you just said. I saw it. I recognized it at the time. That look, it's that exact scene. But in my head, it wasn't the video of that. It was more than just the same thing happening again. It wasn't the tape was a representation of that actual moment. So, okay, wow, that does add a layer to it too that I missed. So thank you very much for illuminating me on that, Matt. I had one. So my big problems in the end, I think, where I go back and forth on is that I feel like I want to call this Blair Witch Awakens. Right, because like the Force Awakens, the pops against that it's basically just a remake of Star Wars,
right?
Just kind of updated, and that's kind of what this is, right? It takes all the things that kind of worked with the first film, expands them a little bit, but basically delivers the same story,
right?
And I struggle with that because I don't know if I should hold that against it, or if it's more like, hey, look, we made this an even more interesting kind of in-depth version of the first film, and so appreciate it for that. So that's where I go. So that's where I struggle. So I think right now I have to give it a C+ because I think the fact that for the first 2/3 of the film for me too, Matt, it just wasn't scary.
Right.
It wasn't scary. Things didn't kick into gear, like I said, until everything goes to hell, basically. And especially once we get to the house. But it's right. When the two people show up is when everything kind of takes off. But before that, I'm just wanting everything to stop moving. And then B, waiting for the scares to hit outside of the stupid jump scares. So that's what weighs it down for me. Outside of that, I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the last 15 minutes of this film. I thought they were great.
Okay.
Put it that way.
All right. Well, that's pretty well. I mean, that's I can see that. I mean, that's fair. I think I liked it a lot more than you did. I think again, watching, which we'll get into. I mean, the first Blair Witch or the Blair Witch Project. It has a very slow start to begin with. There's not a whole lot going on in that film. And I think, again, the pacing of the film was probably intentional, where it's kind of like building, it's kind of mundane, and it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. I thought what they did with it was fine. I thought the performances were fine. I liked the updating of it. I think it was I didn't think it was particularly groundbreaking, but the shaky cam didn't bother me. And I had fun. I mean, I thought it was a fun film. I would probably give it. I would probably go ahead and be generous and give it a B. I enjoyed it for a good amount.
Wow, B. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'd give the last 20 minutes of it a B+ easy. It's just that the rest of it I don't know. It just was too slow for me, and we'll talk about that. All right, Matt. So let's talk about what's coming up. Well, excuse me. Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts about Blair Witch. So let us know. Matt, let's talk about what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. That's September 27th. One of my favorite films of the year so far, The Neon Demon, is being released on Blu-ray. It includes a director's unrated version, which I have to know what that is. I can't imagine what he's cut from that release, but we'll have to find out. It includes a commentary by NWR, as you like to say, and Elle Fanning. Duncan Jones' Warcraft, a film that I told you kids was going to bomb. I told you. I just feel like there's not a big enough audience for that. I know like one person who plays Warcraft out of everybody I know. I just don't think the audience was there for this big budget film. It bothers me because I think Duncan Jones is a good director. So he just launched his newest film, which I think it's called Mute, which is supposed to take place in the same universe as Moon does. And if you haven't seen Duncan Jones' first film, Moon, check that out immediately. But Warcraft, if you get it from Best Buy, there's 30 minutes of bonus content. Walmart's got a steel book. Target comes with 8 collectible cards and some special packaging as well. You get a Blu-ray DVD digital copy and Ultraviolet Pass. And there's a 3D version of all that as well. Some deleted scenes, extended ones, a gag reel, behind-the-scenes featurettes, all that stuff. Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates is being released with a Blu-ray DVD digital copy. Includes 14 deleted scenes, 16 extended scenes, Linerama, gag reel, Funny or Die shorts, a director's commentary. I don't know about this one, Matt. I felt like I wanted to see it, but I had no real drive to see it. I like Aubrey Plaza a lot. I like Anna Kendrick. I like, what's his name? I always say Adam Rich, but I know it's not Adam Rich. The guy from Workaholics.
Yeah.
Who I like a lot. I think he's a very funny guy. So, but I still had I don't know. If it shows up on Netflix, maybe I'll watch it. The Shallows, the shark horror film starring Blake Lively, is being released. It's supposed to be a great little B genre horror film. So that's getting released as well. Includes 4 featurettes and deleted scenes. I think, Matt, the greatest actor lurking today, at least the most productive, The Rock's latest film, Central Intelligence, with Kevin Hart, is being released. Includes an unrated extended version as well as a theatrical cut, commentary by the director, gag reel, alternate scenes, whole bunch of stuff. So I will be checking that one out because it's The Rock's up there. Was just one of those guys. I just basically want to see everything he does.
Yeah, you have like a man crush on The Rock.
I do. He's my modern day Arnold. You know, like he does a movie, I'm gonna have to watch it. So. The Innocents, supposed to be a fantastic film. It's from 1945 Poland, so you got to get those World War II references in if you're a foreign film, because that's how you get Oscar nominations. In 1945 Poland, the young French Red Cross doctor who was sent to assist the survivors of the German camps discovers several nuns in advanced states of pregnancy during a visit to a nearby convent. So I'd like to check that out at some point. Francesca, which is supposed to be a modern-day giallo, is being released. Matt, it's been 15 years since the disappearance of little Francesca, daughter of the renowned poet and playwright Vittorio Visconti. The community is stalked by a psychopath bent on cleaning the city of impure and damned souls. Moretti and Succo are detectives in charge of finding the killer of these Dantesque crimes. Francesca has returned, but she's not the same girl they once knew. So it's supposed to be a nice little modern-day giallo. So if you're into that kind of stuff, or should be giallo.
Well, you are. Are you excited about Argento's new film?
I don't even know he had one.
Yeah, it's called The Sandman. It stars Iggy Pop of all people.
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm excited. Listen, I've always threatened to do like a fake commentary for his Dracula film because it is so bad. I feel part of the problem with Argento is I'm wondering if it's not a failure of his abilities at this point, given his age and whatever, that from what I understand is that the Italian government has drastically cut funding for cinema in that country. And a lot of the stuff there was funded from the government. So he's had a really difficult time procuring financing for his films, which I guess, right? You have a 60-year-old guy who's known for horror films. So, yeah, I think that's been part of the problem. But I don't know if, Matt, if you've seen his Dracula film.
I have not.
Ooh. Oh, it's a bad one. So, new to Blu-ray, Bill and Ted's Excellent Collection. This is coming from Shout Factory. You get the first film, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Bogus Journey as well. New audio commentary featuring Alex Winter. For some reason, they could not get down Keanu Reeves for this. There was a special edition that came with an 8-inch tall Rufus action figure, as well as the lithograph, new design from the artist who did the new cover, Paul Schipper. New 2 6x4 Bill and Ted stickers, a Wild Stallions guitar pick as well. It's just got a whole bunch of special features. So if you're a Bill and Ted fan, Matt, this is the version of the Blu-ray to get, and you get both films.
Fantastic.
Now, from what I understand, they're not new transfers. I think they're using the original transfer from whoever it was. We'll say Warner Brothers. They own like 60% of the movie library out there, so we'll say it's them. Criterion is giving us Decalogue, the masterwork of Krzysztof Kieslowski's film from Poland that was originally on Polish TV. It's a new 4K digital restoration, a new high-definition digital restoration of a short film about killing and a short film about love, 2 other of those films, and a whole bunch of other featurettes. So if you're a fan of Decalogue, you can pick this up from Criterion. Criterion is also giving us Valley of the Dolls and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls on Blu-ray as well. Includes a new 2K digital restoration for the original film and just a high-definition restoration on the sequel. Audio commentaries as well. And remember, too, that Roger Ebert wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Don't forget that. And he provided a commentary in 2003 for the film that is included in this new set. Highlander, the 30th anniversary, Matt, a new 4K restoration of the original negative. How do you like that? Includes a making of featurette, deleted scenes, interviews with Russell Mulcahy and Christopher Lambert. Again, and an audio commentary as well by Mulcahy. Still, one of the greatest things about that film, Matt, is you have a French guy being an Irish guy or a Scottish guy, and you have an English guy being a Spanish guy.
No, a Scottish guy being a Spanish guy.
Thank you, Scottish guy being a Spanish guy. Forgive me.
And neither one of them are even attempting to do the appropriate accents.
But still, Highlander, one of the greatest genre films of all time.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun movie. Once you can just move back past, Connery in his Scottish brogue trying to be a Spaniard, it's hilarious.
Yep. And of course it has the great music by Queen in it. So No, never any real official. I should say Michael Kamen did the incidentals, but Queen did like the big the pieces in it. But they never released like a Queen soundtrack version. They actually released an album called "A Kind of Magic," which includes all the songs from the film. So that's for you, Matt. You can pick that up. Naturally, I have it. Chopping Mall. You remember? Hey, Matt, do you hear Vestron Pictures is back?
I did not know this.
So
I don't even know who that is.
So all right. So if you're not familiar, in the late '80s, early '90s, Vestron was a production company. They did kind of genre stuff, right? Just kind of crappy horror films and some other stuff. So Lionsgate has resurrected the label, and this is going to be their, like Shout has Scream Factory. Well, Lionsgate has Vestron. And they're giving us 2 films out the gate right now. They're giving us Chopping Mall. If you haven't seen Chopping Mall, has one of the greatest head explosions in a film you'll see. We're not as good as Scanners, I think, which is still the pantheon of head explosions. But it's still pretty good. And it includes 3 audio commentaries, one by the director, co-writer, actress, and co-writer. There's historians, because there's an historian about Chopping Mall. And then another commentary with just the director and the co-writer. Some featurettes on the making of the film as well. An isolated score, because it's got one of those great 80s synth scores in it as well. And they're also giving us the fantastic Blood Diner. If you haven't seen Blood Diner, that is a cult classic. It includes a newly remastered high-definition transfer from the original film elements, audio commentary by the director, Jackie Kong, some behind-the-scenes featurettes as well. Blood Diner is one of those where people kind of get there, they kill them, and they cook them up and serve them to people. And but it's a good one. And then Shout Factory is giving us Lady in White. And Halloween, a great little ghost story, Matt. And Halloween in 1962, a 10-year-old, his classmates lock him in the coffin-like confines of the 4th grade cloakroom, where he's forced to spend the night unbeknownst to anyone alive. When the darkness comes, Frankie is horrified to discover a ghost of a little girl murdered in the very same room 10 years earlier. Lady in White's a creepy as hell little film. So if you haven't seen it, you should check that one out as well. There's a director's cut of the film, as well as an extended director's cut. And then the original theatrical cut. So you get 3 cuts of The Lady in White if you are so inclined. Finally, Matt, well, not quite finally, a 35th anniversary release of American Werewolf in London includes a new restoration of the film, an exclusive slipcase, and a bunch of behind-the-scenes featurettes, including outtakes. Makeup artist Rick Baker on the film. Possibly, Matt, tell me if you agree with the greatest werewolf transformation in the history of cinema in American Werewolf in London.
Hands down, it is fantastic. It is a great, great film.
So you can pick up the 35th anniversary of that. I have the previous Blu-ray release, so I don't really see any need to upgrade for that. But if you haven't seen it, a classic film. And it also features audio commentary with David Naughton and Griffin Dunn. 2 Mystery Science Theater classics, Matt, are getting regular releases. Slugs and Time Walker are being released. Time Walker, I think, is better known as Brother from Another Planet. In the episode of Mystery Science Theater. And then Slugs. I like Brother from Another Planet. That episode's really good. And then the Slugs one's okay. And the Slugs one's, I think, from year 10 is from the end of the run. And then, of course, the Mystery Science Theater themselves, the re-release of the classic sets continues, Matt, with Volume 3, which includes the Side Hackers, the Unearthly, the Atomic Brain, and Shorts Volume 2. So this is a set that's been out of print for a very long time, and now you can finally pick it back up. Matt, your straight to DVD pick of the week as this mercifully winds down. Killersaurus. When a scientist runs out of funding for his life-saving medical research, he accepts an investment from a shadowy military organization, because they always are, to finish his work. But in return, he is forced to use his new technology to create the ultimate battlefield weapon. A full-size Tyrannosaurus Rex is ready to break free and start the ultimate battle with the human race. So I got a feeling A1 kind of bomber will be able to take out a weaponized T-Rex. I would think. I don't know how big a threat this is.
You'd be wrong.
I probably. Did you have any streaming picks of the week this week, Matt, for us? Have you watched it online?
So, yeah, you berated me last week that this was my job.
Yes.
So I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this seriously going forward. So I plugged Documentary Now, which is an excellent IFC comedy series, several times on the show. And the new season just started, and I watched the second episode, which is called "Juan Likes Rice and Chicken." Which is a fantastic episode. I encourage everyone to go out and watch it. If it's probably on demand. But
it's on IFC, right? Is this an IFC show?
It is on IFC, yes. But the documentary that is based off of, or that's spoofing or paying homage to, is Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And if you haven't seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi, It is a fantastic little documentary film. It is about a sushi chef in Japan who's 85 years old. His name is obviously Jiro. He has a very small sushi restaurant in Ginza Station, and I think it's in Tokyo. It's literally only holds maybe 12 people, and it's the only 3-star Michelin rated sushi restaurants in the world. So it's really all about his obsessive process, his family and like things he sacrificed, and his boys working for him for decades and decades and decades under his apprenticeship. It's actually really, really fascinating. I mean, if you like sushi, it's going to make you hungry because all the sushi looks freaking fantastic. But it's a really interesting film. It's got an unexpected amount of heart to it, and it's just something I really recommend everybody go out and check out.
I want to watch it. I've tried to get the missus to watch it too, but she's kind of balked at it a couple times, which is weird because she loves sushi. And also, she loves the show Chef's Table, which is on Netflix, which is by the same director.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I think we'll have to work it in. I think it's just what it is for us is we were so caught up in watching the first season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is that we were just kind of busting that out. And we just wrapped that up this past weekend.
Right.
Matt, I don't know if you've watched this yet, but I love that show.
Okay.
I am so excited for it to come back next month too. So if you and Rebecca, if you haven't watched it, you really have to check it out. It is fantastic, and the whole first season is on Netflix right now. So
okay. Very good.
There you go. All right, Matt, let's take a break. Let's hear a clip from the Blair Witch Project.
And I just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom. I am so sorry, because it is my fault, because it was my project.
The search of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County tonight.
10 days and thousands of man-hours have been unable to produce any clues.
We have a few leads, a few other options we want to take advantage of, and just try to put together some pieces to this puzzle.
Do you believe the occult may be involved in the disappearance of your son?
I am so scared.
Matt, is it safe to say that this is the granddaddy of found footage films, right? I mean, I don't know if this was the first one. Probably isn't. This is, I think, the one that really kicked it off, right? This is what inspired all that stuff to go crazy. And then this is responsible, you could say, for the glut of found footage films that we received afterwards.
I'd say that's fair. I mean, I think, obviously, if I'm thinking earlier, I mean, Cannibal Holocaust is probably the earliest one that I can think of a found footage film. But, yeah, I mean, this is definitely the one that kicked off, holy God, we can make something on a relatively small budget, and, the
like 60 grand, I think it was?
Yeah, it's 60, 90 grand, something like that.
60.
Back 60 grand. And how much did it make back?
Almost 249 million. That's a pretty good rate of return.
Yeah, it's a pretty good rate of return. I definitely think it obviously kicked it off because, I mean, obviously people thought there was money to be made. But I mean, the other thing you got to realize about this film is this is really one of the first, maybe the first example of using the internet for viral marketing. And I think that's really what really contributed to its overall take. I mean, obviously, when I went and saw this in the 90s, it came out in the late 90s. Is that when it came out?
99. Yep, 99.
All right. So when I went and saw this in the theater, I went with a group of friends, and one of them thought it was real. So, I guess that just goes to prove, how successful some of this marketing was.
Yeah, I remember I ran a movie theater. I was the GM of a movie theater when this came out, and I remember pushing the owners of the theater, a little independent chain, pushing the owners of the theater to get this film because we kept hearing all about it. And I'm like, trust me, this thing's going to do gangbusters. It's going to be huge. And plus, I just really wanted to see it. And we did. We got it. And my whole crew, we got it. We usually get the films like Wednesday or Thursday, right, for Friday premiere. So I think it was a Thursday night, maybe not Friday night. I don't remember. But after we closed up the theater, we all got together, and everybody who wasn't working came as well, and we watched it after the theater closed. And the greatest thing about it was it was a rainy, dark, and stormy night with lightning and everything too when we watched it. And this is up in the northwest corner of Connecticut. So, and I volunteered to bring one of the crew home who lived out in the woods of like Goshen or whatever the hell it was. So now this is me after walking out of this film. I was terrified watching this thing, and I got to drive into these woods and drop off this kid and then drive home alone. And it was just, I got to tell you, Matt, this thing when I was younger scared the hell out of me. I think one of the big successes of the film too, right, is the strong performances in it. And I think that's due likely to the improvisation, right? Because they didn't really have a script. They kind of had like, all right, by noon you're going to be here, and then we're going to screw with you, but then just react, right? And like the scene where they walk around and they end up in the same place. They didn't know that was going to happen. Their reactions are authentic because they said, wait, we've been walking all day and you're bringing us right to where we were. They were really upset, the actors, about that. So that's all kind of authentic. I think that's what's so great about the film is the fact that it was mostly improvised. The actors didn't know what the directors and the crew were going to do to them either. So they were reacting in real time as well with all this stuff. And it's unlike the new film, this one is subtler. All right, I think one of the things I noticed was specifically is the sound design. So in Wingard's film, everything's loud and crashes and bangs, and with this original one, when they hear stuff, you're straining to hear it too, right, Matt? You're like, wait, what was that? What was that? You hear just a cracking of the sticks in the background or somewhere. It didn't have that whole 5.1, Dolby Atmos type surround effect. So it was the original film for me was a lot creepier. Right, they did a great job of setting up the atmosphere. Now, one thing I'll say is, coming back to this film years later, it's much slower than I remember. And it takes a long time, just like this new film for me. It takes a while to get going. Originally, I was on the edge of my seat when I first saw this. But coming back to it now, it's for me, it wasn't as effective. But I think it's one of those things where this is the thing you have to experience it that first time. And then after that, it's not going to have the same payoff. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie a bunch of times, so, I mean, you're right. Once you've kind of seen it once, you know what the rest of it's coming. I mean, I'm fine with the slowness of it. The parts that really, when it starts to kick off, and like the things that freaked me out the first time still kind of freak me out even a little bit, even though I know they're coming, like when they're in the tent and like the people, like the hands start hitting the tent or whatever. That freaked me out the first time I saw it. It still kind of freaks me out every time I see it. Yeah, so I mean, I think that the effective parts of the film are still effective. I still think you need that kind of slow dread build up to kind of really sell it as they go through.
Yeah, true.
And it's still, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a pretty, even though it's the beginning of it slow, it's still only like, an hour and a half tops, if that. So it's still pretty lean and quick, even though it kind of takes its time getting to the good
81 minutes. Yeah. I'd have to say, I still, between the two films, I still think this is the stronger of the two.
Yeah,
I think the original is the stronger of the two films. I think Wingard's version is more polished. I think it's a more developed and expanded film. But yeah, I mean, that's basically, we're talking budget and expectations and the fact that we have the original to build on.
Sure.
But I still think the stronger of the two films is still the original. I think like the performance of everybody in this too is, I think it's fantastic. Everybody's really strong in this because I think, as I said, it's the improvisation and it's them not knowing what's going to happen to them. Right. I think it's just I don't know. It's still an effective film. It is not as terrifying as it was, and I remember seeing it. But I'm older. I've seen it before. So, but there's still that end, man, when we get to the house again, and Mikey's in the corner. I'm telling you, it still gets to you. It still gets to you.
Yeah, it's still a classic of the genre. I think it's always going to be a classic. If you haven't seen it, you kind of have to. And it's still fun. It still holds up. Granted, yes, are there criticisms out there? Some of it is valid. I mean, obviously, the camera work can be a lot if that kind of thing bothers you. But you would probably know that already. So at least kind of going into it, and just know you're not going to see a lot of stuff. They're going to withhold a lot of stuff from you, and that's okay. So Yeah, I think it's a good, solid film. And then, if, like I said, everybody has to see it, especially if you're consider yourself a horror fan.
Yeah, I think that's part of why the first film's so effective too, and that's why I asked you about seeing the Blair Witch, because a lot of times what you don't see is the most horrifying stuff, right? Because that's when your imagination takes over, and your imagination's always going to be worse than what you're actually seeing. Right. So I think that's part of the strength of the first film. When you're limited by your budget, you have to get creative with certain things. I think that sometimes it ends up being a benefit to you. Though still, Wingard's Witch was terrifying for me. So, all right. So if I had to give Blair Witch Project, I'd probably go B. I feel like that's all I do is hand out Bs. But that's what I would give the original film.
Yeah, I would say I'd probably give it a B+. I'm gonna give it a little bit better just because I think it's better than the film that we just saw. Since I gave that a B, and it's obviously a classic. So it's for better or worse, it founded an entire genre pretty much on its own. So you got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a friend of the show, Joe Warnick, can't watch this film because it's the shaky cam. I think we went to go see it, and he had to leave. He couldn't handle it. It was so he was getting so nauseous. So, of course, he was really high at the time. No, I'm just kidding.
Could be it. No,
I'm kidding.
He was high. He was just drunk.
That's right. I don't want to cast aspersions.
Yeah.
Matt. So that's it. That's Blair Witch Project. Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Let us know your thoughts if you decided to catch up with Blair Witch Project as well. We didn't do Book of Shadows because for obvious reasons. I don't know if I wanted to pursue because I don't think it's available anywhere really.
Yeah,
so I had no real desire to track that down to watch it. So, all right, that's that. Matt, let's take a break then. Let's come back and let's see everybody's favorite role-playing game, Who Dat?
Guten Nacht, Agent Hellboy. Look, Agent, I know you don't like me, but I could take away your badge.
Never had one. Kept asking, though.
You will learn to obey me, follow protocol, and stay focused at all times.
That word, focused? Yeah, with your accent, I wouldn't use it that much.
I knew Professor Broom, young man.
You didn't know Professor Broom?
Yes, I did.
After my accident,
he designed this containment suit. A wonderful man. And even then, he was worried about your future.
Stop it! Right now.
Or what? Are you threatening me? Because I think I can take you.
Excuse me?
You heard me.
I couldn't hear you from all the way over there.
I can take you because you have one fatal flaw.
Oh, I want to hear it.
No, you don't. You can't take criticism.
Try me.
So, Matt, for Who Dat, this is where Matt and I we pose each other questions, and we have to answer as that person.
Right.
Right. Now, I will say I have no Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie questions here this week. I thought it was best to kind of just let that lie. Because if those two kids can't make it, I don't know what hope the rest of us have. So, I don't know. I just don't want to talk about it. It bothers me. So, okay. Now, I want to start everything off because this week I started watching Hellboy on Netflix.
Okay.
And then I was about 20 minutes into it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I have the director's cut of Hellboy on DVD from 15 years ago.
Right. Was that long ago?
I don't know. It's at least 10.
Yeah.
And I never watched it.
Huh.
So as you know, I stopped the stream, and I haven't had a chance yet. But I'm going to watch it again as the director's cut because I want to. Listen. We all know. I think both of us are big Del Toro guys here, so I want to check it out again. But man, I'm curious. Guillermo del Toro, let me rephrase. You are Guillermo del Toro.
Of course.
You said you'd be open to Hellboy 3 if Pacific Rim 2 makes enough money. How much is enough? And do you think you're going to make Hellboy 3?
So, my friend, remind me, how much did Pacific Rim cost me and how much did it make?
Let's take a look, Matt. I'm sorry, Guillermo. Let me pull that up for you. So Pacific cost you about $190. All right.
Okay.
And your box office was $411. So say we want to throw in what, another 50? Because I don't remember being a huge advertising push for this. You want to say 50 million in advertising?
Okay.
Typically you say 100, but I'll say 50 because this is also from 3 years ago. So okay, well, so that brings us to 240. Let's make it even 250.
Okay.
So you then made what, 160 on the film?
Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money. Yet this thing is getting it's getting a sequel. I'm kind of I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a director, so I'm not really paying attention. I don't know how much.
No, Guillermo. If I may, you are an artist.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not sure how much we're spending on Pacific Rim 2. So I think that's going to be key. Is what is the budget for Pacific Rim 2? Depending on how much it's going to be back, I can't imagine it's going to be higher than the first one was.
I would sincerely doubt that, considering.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll say what you want to say, 150.
Okay, we'll say 150. So I think I got to clear. I think I got to make at least $300 million on this movie in order for it to be considered worth it to go to Hellboy 3. Now, I don't really understand myself, even though I made the statement about why Hellboy 3 or Pacific Rim 2 has to make enough money to get Hellboy 3, because I think I'm not going to get financing anymore. Yeah, I think it's going to have to make at least $300 million in profit to be able to swing some executives over to Hellboy 3.
So yeah, so Hellboy. I'm sorry. So there's no info on Hellboy's. Excuse me, on Pacific Rim 2's budget. It's been submitted along with the script, but there's no info on it. Hellboy 2's budget was 160. And I think Guillermo says he's going to need basically one. I'm sorry, no, it was 85. It was 85. Hellboy 2's budget was 85, and it made 160. So that's not bad. I think that's fine. But I think Guillermo said he's going to need at least 100 for Hellboy 3. So I think that's going to be part of the issue. And my other concern too is Ron Perlman. I mean, how old is Ron at this point? Right? He's 66.
He's got to be in his 60s.
66.
In his mid-60s.
Now, granted, they do a great makeup job on him. So, but still, listen. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I love these two films. I think they're really entertaining. They're a lot of fun.
They are. They're good.
I don't know why they didn't really catch on as well as they did, and they're both really well reviewed too. I mean, I think the Rotten Tomatoes scores are both in the 70s or 80s at least. So I don't know. So do you think it's going to happen, Guillermo? Though, are you confident? Are we going to see Hellboy 3? Give me your what are the odds? Let's mash them together.
My favorite segment of my favorite movie podcast, the first one. Yes, I would say, you know what, I'm going to get confident. I'm going to say it's 70%, and this is the reason why. I think, one, comic book movies are still big. I think, obviously, if we get some different comic books in there other than the DC and Marvel stuff, I think there's still room in the market for that. But also, I don't know if you knew this, but Hellboy's actually been finished. The actual comic book has been finished. So final battle's been fought. The end has happened. There was a little coda series at the end. So that's, I think, a good material that I think they could pull from, where they could really cap this thing off. They can say, okay, Mike Mignola, he finished the series. We know how it ends. Let's make that into a movie and just go from there and just kind of finish this thing out, which I'm really hoping to get the chance to do, or I'm hoping I get the chance to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, there's interviews in 2014 when you say it's not going to happen. He says and then he says it's unlikely, but who knows? I mean, listen, if Pacific Rim 2... He said the same
thing about Pacific Rim 2. He said the same thing about Pacific Rim 2.
True. I mean, and if Pacific Rim 2 goes huge, which, let's be honest, Guillermo, Booby, I don't know. I am not confident that Pacific Rim 2 is going to hit. I don't. I think I think it'll do okay, but I just don't. I don't feel the juice, right? Yeah. I didn't feel like there was. I liked the first film. I think the weakest part of that film, unfortunately, is Hunman. I do not know what your affection for Charlie Hunman is. I don't get it. But it's and it's just, there are times when it's just not that exciting. That movie rocks when we have our kaiju versus our what do you call it? The big robots things. So but all the in-between stuff is just kind of flat. So if you can pull it together though and get it out, fantastic. But I got to tell you, Matt, excuse me, Guillermo, my odds for you on this are probably 35% that we see a Hellboy 3. So, all right, what do you got?
All right, so you're one of our favorite directors, Chris.
Yes.
Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith.
Well, okay. Hey, I get to direct Flash TV show now and again, and I have a film coming out that I didn't even know about until about 3 weeks ago. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, exactly. So that goes with this. So your last couple of films, Tusks, which, if I'm being honest, we here at the show are not huge fans of. Yeah.
Correct.
And is it Tusk?
Yeah.
Tusk?
Yes.
Oh, well, I actually wrote Tusk down. Yeah, okay. And then your new film, Yoga Hosers, which I think is not being reviewed very well, and none of us are particularly excited to go see. We can say your late career output has been relatively underwhelming, Kevin. We still love you, but you know, we're a little nervous for you. So I know you have in development a Mallrats 2/TV series. Kevin, do you really think this is a good idea? Is this something that you can pull off? Are you not diluting the best parts of your legacy by going back to the well of what worked before?
I don't think so. I think when I have successes, it's when I go back to the well. I don't know if that's an unfortunate circumstance, because I don't want to be pigeonholed by the fact that I just have to revisit stuff that was previously successful to be relevant. So I don't think in my heart that's true. But for some reason, what's successful for me tends to be going back to that View Askew universe. Because let's be clear, Clerks 2 is a fantastic film. It's a lot of fun. It's smart. It's whip smart, and it's hilarious at times. Okay, Zach and Miri make a porno, not in that universe per se, but in that still well, I'd say it's in that universe, but not with those established characters. Still, a very funny film. I tripped up a little bit with Cop Out. I think an unfairly maligned film at times, though Bruce Willis was an exceptional pain to work with. Really, that guy's a jerk. And then Red State, kind of my first foray into horror, is pretty good. Tusk, I admit, didn't really come together the way I liked. So, listen, I'm just giving people what I think that they want. And I think a Mallrats TV show via like my own version of Degrassi, which I am in love with, as everybody knows, may be the way to go. I mean, pop it up on the CW. I think we'll have a nice long run. I'm just going to kind of churn out some Flash TV shows, which is what I'm directing right now. I'll do some television stuff for a while. I'll do some treatments, punch up some scripts. I'll be happy. I'll be working, and everything will be good. And maybe every few years I'll pop out a film. I mean, let's be honest, man. Don't you want to see what Dante is up to now that he's middle-aged?
Was Dante even in that movie?
In what film? Which one?
In Mallrats.
No, I'm just talking about Clerks.
Clerks. Yeah,
I'm going all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably still complaining about how he's not supposed to be there today.
That's right.
So he probably has quite a bit to say on The Force Awakens. So that would be something I'd be interested to hear. What Randall and Dante have to say about that.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I don't know. Did I capture lightning a bottle of those 20 some odd years ago? Maybe. Maybe I did. Well, no, because Chasing Amy is my best work. And that came out a few years later. So, and I know Chasing Amy at one point, your co-host Chris Galzo, that was his favorite film for about a good year. Wow. He adored that film.
Interesting.
So I think he's terrified to watch it today.
But good reason, I think, but still.
So no, I don't. Is this my path now? Sure, maybe fine. It is. I don't like to think that maybe I've the peak of my creative arts has passed at me. I don't like to think about that, and I don't think it's true. We'll see what the future holds, but I think it's fine.
Very good.
Mallrats TV show. Let's go.
Do this.
All right, Matt.
Who am I?
You're Bob Iger.
Okay.
Lucasfilm Chief Executive Officer. You've said a few things interesting that I want you to address. One is you've announced another trilogy in the Star Trek universe. So question one, what is it? Because you haven't told us, but you said there's going to be another trilogy that you're working on.
Star Wars.
Yeah, what did I say?
Star Trek.
Oh, sorry. Another Star Wars trilogy. And you said, I believe this was you. If not, just answer it anyway because you're in charge. That Star Wars, that Rogue One was an experiment, which I think you're tempering expectations by saying that. So address those two questions. What's the next trilogy, and what did you mean by experiment?
Well, man, the next trilogy. Well, I guess you know, honestly, Chris, I'm just the money guy. I have no idea. We're still in the process of how this can even work.
Duck. Can't you say like, oh, it's a Boba Fett film? You can't even say that. I mean, I think that'd be the easiest way to go.
We're saying there's another trilogy. So the way I interpreted your question, Chris, if you're going to be a smartass about it, to Bob Iger, I don't think you know who you're dealing with. I think the next trilogy is, I think they're making the young Han Solo into a trilogy of films.
But you're doing another. I'm talking about another expanded trilogy. I don't think it's going to be. I don't believe it's not episodes.
Oh, see, I thought
10 through 11. It's another like. No, you're not. You're doing. It's Han Solo, but there's another one now you're going to do. That's an offshoot, and that's what I want to know what it is.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I thought you were talking about what was going to happen in episodes 10, 11, 12, which I know they talked about, or I talked about. So. Yeah, okay, sorry. I was confused by your question. It was unclear. It was you, not me. So I think if we're gonna do an expanded universe or another offshoot, depending on Han Solo, how that does, you know, I think we like to establish, you know, use established characters. So I'm guessing. I think I'm leaning towards maybe an Obi-Wan Kenobi, kind of after Darth Vader during the roundup of the Jedi, kind of Vader coming after the Jedi. I think that could be has a series of stories that could be told in it. So I think it's going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy.
You're going to try and grab Ewan McGregor. Will be too old by then, though, right? Probably.
Well, not really, because I mean, if it's supposed to be between, you know, young Obi-Wan at the end of Episode 3 versus Alec Guinness Obi-Wan at the beginning of Episode 4, I mean, he would still probably be in the right age range that he wanted to be.
That's a good point. Yeah, and you just got to hope. You just got to hope that Mr. Iger. You need to hope that. And I'm not. And I don't want this to happen. Let me be clear. You need to hope that James Earl Jones holds out.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we've already started recording all of his lines. We just have him saying every word of the English language, and then we just we're gonna mash
piece it all together. Yeah. That is a great idea because you can do that now. So
yeah.
All right.
And as far as Rogue One, yeah, I am tempering expectations. I'm a little nervous. I don't have a lot of faith in the public kind of latching onto this film. You know, because obviously it's not the established Star Wars characters. So I feel like we're taking a bit of a risk here. You know, I don't know if you heard, but in my recent financials call, I kind of also tempered expectations on how much money we thought that this film was going to make. I think we scaled back a little bit in what our projections were going to be. So, yeah, for whatever reason, I'm a little nervous about this. I can't tell you. But
what were the projections?
They didn't say. They were just saying that. Let me pull it back up here.
This thing's going to make a ton of money. I don't know what I think this will make it. This will clear our bill. I think so. When all things said and done, it's Star Wars. I feel like I feel like they can't really go wrong unless. I think at this point, with the people they have in charge, including you, sir, I don't anticipate any Christmas special type stuff at this point. Right. You know. So I don't, unless the film's dreadful,
right?
Which I just don't see happening. I don't know. I mean, I guarantee you, Matt, it's going to make back at least triple its budget. At least.
You think so?
If not quadruple that sucker.
Not quadruple that sucker?
That's right. Is it Rogue Squadron? I keep saying Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Rogue Squadron's a game.
Yeah, Rogue Squadron is the comic book.
Okay. All right, I don't care. Let's move on.
Yeah, I don't care either. But yeah, I read that somewhere. I didn't write it down. I should have if I had expected this question. But yeah, I did read it somewhere that they were Disney and was tempering expectations slightly on how much money this thing was going to make.
I think you're doing it again too with that experiment comment, but all right. We'll see. What do you got for me?
All right. So you're the greatest auteur of our time, Michael Bay.
Thank you.
Yep. You are making Transformers last night, and for whatever reason, and I don't know why, but I guess you've draped the birthplace of Winston Churchill and Nazi paraphernalia, and Hitler's in this movie. So, and people are all pissed off about this in England. So my question to you is this, Michael. Haven't you learned? What the hell's wrong with you?
What do you mean? I'm Michael Bay. All I do is deliver action and quality films. So, listen, just get over yourself, calm down. You're gonna love what I do. It's gonna be the loudest, biggest. I'm the Donald Trump of directing. It's gonna be massive. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna love every minute of it, Matt. It's gonna be Transformers versus Nazis versus other bad Decepticons with Cobra. Cobra's gonna be in it too. So I'm telling you, Matt, don't worry. Just calm down. Everybody, calm down. All right. I'm pursuing my art. Just because you don't get it doesn't mean that I should not be allowed to pursue it. So enough. All right. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna dig it, and Churchill would be proud. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna dig it. You know, when you were saying that, all I could think of was Trump. I was just waiting for you to bust out. Go. I make the best movies. I got the best. That's my favorite Trump quotes. I use great words. I got the best words.
Yes. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with that. I didn't even know about this until you brought it up.
Yeah.
What a hack. I mean, I am awesome.
And what's sad about Michael Bay is that visually, if you kind of just, he makes some good shots. I mean, he's not a terrible director. It's just that he's a god-awful storyteller and director of actors and all this stuff. Yeah, just bad choices, man.
Pain and Gain is a reasonably entertaining film. Yeah. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. Him and Snyder are really, now that I think about it, are very similar in that way.
I think so.
Bombastic, but also at times great shots, which are frustrating as hell.
Yes.
Okay, Matt. Where are we? You're a guy that I can't seem to get behind. I don't know what it is. I don't like it. So maybe you can help me. This is my new Tatum line guy. Okay. You're Miles Teller. Okay. Whiplash, War Dogs most recently. You turned down $4 million to star in Damien Chappelle's musical La La Land, replaced by Ryan Gosling. What the hell? Why would you turn down? First, you get to work with Emma Stone. This film's getting a ton of Oscar buzz. Everybody's saying Emma's going to get nominated for an Academy Award. $4 million to participate in this film. Why'd you say no?
Well, if truth be known, I'm still reeling a little bit from Fantastic Four, and I just don't feel confident in my singing and dancing skills in this film. So, I feel like I really want to kind of, show that I'm more of a, not like an art house brand. I kind of want to get back into that kind of movie star realm. So I'm really kind of trying to get into bigger films. I don't want to really be a part of these smaller, granted, I understand critical darlings, but I think at this point in my career, from the blockbusters that I've been involved in that have bombed miserably, I really need to kind of avoid that kind of stuff and see what I can get into as far as stuff that's going to make me some money. Because I got to pay for this house in the Hollywood Hills. So.
Oh, $4 million wouldn't cut it for you?
I guess not. No.
Wow.
Guess not.
All right, that's fine. Whatever. Why don't I like you? Because I liked your performance in Whiplash. I thought it was great.
Yeah, but looking at the rest of my oeuvre, I think you're right not to like me very much. So.
Gotta work on that. Well, now I like you a little more now. You gotta work on that self-confidence. All right. All right. What do you?
All right. So we're sticking with directors that Chris hates. So here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
You're Antoine Fuqua.
Oh God.
And you've just released The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
And you know what? Believe it or not, it's actually getting pretty decent reviews. 64% on Rotten Tomatoes when I checked this morning. Yep. 76% office score or audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So my question to you is this: has the most influential man in Hollywood, Chris Scalzo of the First Run podcast, has he misjudged you as a director?
Clearly he has no idea what he's talking about. I deliver tepid, dramatic action films that will lull you to sleep, except for my, for some reason, obsession with violence for the last few films that I've done. In fact, violence over story seems to be what I'm all about. So listen, I get to work with Denzel, so I don't know. You can't really complain about that. It's funny enough, I have a film called Lightning in a Bottle, which is what I did with Training Day. A film that is only appealing because of its actor. The rest of the film is a bit of a letdown. So no, you know what? Chris Scalzo's right. I am a hack, and all I do is deliver this stuff that it's just I focus too much on the action and the violence, and I don't bother to develop any stories or interesting characters. I have no interest to do that. So all I do is just deliver this crap over and over again. All right. So no, Chris Scalzo is a brilliant man. He critiques my work perfectly, and I need to listen a little more closely, I think, because yeah, that's what I need to do.
So you're gonna abandon your Equalizer 2 plans.
Oh, God. Maybe. Quite possibly. That's up to Denzel. I'll do whatever Denzel says. All right, Matt, I got one more for you.
Okay.
You know, we're going to see that too.
I know we are.
We got to figure out how. All right, Matt, I got one more. Are you ready?
Yes.
You're Tom Selleck.
Oh, of course I am.
ABC is developing a sequel to your show, except it's going to star your daughter, played by Eva Longoria.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on this? And are you going to be in it?
Yeah. So there ain't no Magnum without Tommy S. So I'm gonna be in this. I'm gonna be in a cameo appearance. Maybe I'm trying to talk
flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk the suits to let me be the new Higgins. Maybe at least the new TC, if at all possible.
I would love for you to be TC. Now, I think you should be Magnum. You should be a retired Magnum, and then every now and then you kind of come out to give your daughter some advice or show up and help her with a case, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Unless you're just going to be dead.
I hope I'm not dead, but I'm pretty confident they're going to at least put me in as a guest starring role. I'll show up every now and again. And I'm really hoping that what they do is, I'll show up in my Hawaiian shirt, but it'll be all like old and flea bitten, and it'll be falling apart. And I'm still driving the same Ferrari, and it's basically it's like a rolling death trap kind of thing because I squandered all my money when Higgins kicked me out long time ago.
I would love if it became that you and Higgins actually developed a relationship and became life partners. There's something about that I would absolutely adore. And I'm not mocking that at all. I think it would be really an interesting turn and like a modern twist and all that. But I think here's the problem is that you are tied up right now for Blue Bloods, which I think is a CBS show.
Right.
So I don't think you could get out of this and do some ABC. Yeah, it is a CBS show, so I don't know how you could do it. But I can't see how do you have a Magnum show. And first off, I don't. What do you think about Eva Longoria? I don't think that's. I don't think it's the right choice.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think she can grow a very good mustache. That's for sure.
It is a demand, isn't it? It is a requirement.
It is. Magnum has to have a fantastic mustache, so I don't know what we're gonna do here.
Interesting. I'll have to see what happens.
Man, I have a real love-hate relationship with that show, by the way. I mean, I loved it when I was a kid, but then my freshman year roommate, he would stay up all night watching Magnum PI, and it would keep me awake, and it made me like miss a bunch of classes and all this kind of stuff. So that I grew to hate it. He ruined my childhood for me, and it's something I've never forgiven for.
If you haven't seen, I think it was for the last season, Archer did a whole thing where they reenacted the entire opening sequence of Magnum PI. It's absolutely brilliant. You can YouTube that. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. All right, Matt, do you have anything else? That's all I had.
Nope, I had 3. I had standard 3.
All right. Well, Matt, next week, let's talk about it. It's going to be Magnificent 7. Now, we had talked about wrapping up the straight-to-DVD marathon with Hard Target 2. But do we want? I think I'd rather push that off another week and just push off the pain and do either. I'll let you make the decision: Seven Samurai or Magnificent 7, the original. Which would you prefer to do?
I wish we could do both of them, but I guess we'll have to go with Magnificent 7, the original.
Yeah, I'd like to do both. I just don't know if the timing is going to work. It's a lot to squeeze in.
It is a lot to squeeze in. I mean, especially Seven Samurai being, like 4 hours long. I'm exaggerating, but not by much.
Not by much. So, all right, we'll stick with the original then, the Magnificent Seven. I think that's the way to go. If you don't have it on Blu-ray, Matt, I think you can run out to Best Buy. They have it for $7.99 and includes $7.50 to go see the new film.
Very good.
So you could upgrade for 50 cents, basically.
Right.
All right, so that's what we'll end up doing. All right. First off, Matt, we had a lot of new Twitter followers lately, but all of them seem to be young women who want me to talk to them and share stories. So
I wonder why.
I don't know what's
real
going
people.
on with that.
I mean, are they single and do they live in your area?
They seem to.
Or are they moms who are lonely?
I'm married, so I'm not going to follow up with any of them. But
I see.
They sure seem to want some of my attention. Matt, we'll pick your poison: comedy or cartoon, action adventure, drama, musical, or horror sci-fi.
Let's go horror sci-fi. We haven't done one of those in a while.
What type of planet is Alien 3 set on? Is it A, a prison planet, 2, an industrial planet, or Beta, a medical planet?
It is a prison planet.
It is indeed. Congratulations. It is a prison planet.
Very good.
There you go. All right, Matt. Let's take an extended break. Check us out, though, on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Just do search for The First Run. Eventually, you'll find us. You'll have to go really deep, but we'll be there. And so that's it. As always, just an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. That's the show for this week. We'll see you all soon.
The supernatural, the power of darkness, it's all true. The undead surround me. Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring. I'm lonely.